Salutations, everyone. Welcome to the AOE podcast, where today we're talking politics. It shouldn't be a surprise to many of you who've been listening to the podcast for the past 4 years. My second ever podcast was about the 2016 election, and the third episode was, oh boy, like a hangover of that election. So we're going to talk again today, because guess what? It's been 4 years. We have another general election. And it's an important one. Some are saying it's the most important of our time, maybe the most important ever of the country. I think you can make the same argument that the last one was, or you can say that this one's just as important. Regardless, it's important, and if you want to click off this video, all I can say is vote. Please vote. Please vote. There is the election isn't on November. It isn't the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November every 4 years. The election's happening right now. That's just the day that it ends. So please go vote. There's early voting everywhere. There's ballot drop-off boxes. I got my ballot in the mail, and I dropped it off today, the day of recording this video, and put it in. I looked up all my propositions that are in my state, and did as much due diligence as I could for the local stuff, but living in a small town, that's, not as important as some of the other things. Got like school boards and maybe a local measure or two. So the main thing I want to get across in this installment is that you have to be political. You have to be political. I am sick and tired of people saying, oh, I don't like to be political. I don't want to get into politics. Oh, I don't like to talk politics. Or, oh, stay in your lane. You're not a politician. You're a celebrity or an artist or whatever. No, absolutely not. Everyone needs to be involved in politics. It's too important. You can't afford to not care about politics, because politics care about you. Not that they care for you. It's just that it affects you. It affects you, and you're being targeted no matter who you are. Everything is coming to affect all people. Some people more so than others. And as a straight cisgendered white man, there are rights of mine that are not endangered every election. So a lot of the people that don't like to, oh, I don't like to get political, or I find politics boring, it's because you have no reason to change the system that's already working for you, or that's not adversely affecting you. I think there was even like a scene in the Enola Holmes movie where Sherlock was talking about being bored with politics. And there was a woman in that scene who says, because you don't know what it is to be without power. Politics doesn't interest you. Why? Because it's fatally boring. Because you have no interest in changing a world that suits you so well. And that's just so perfectly put. There's so many people that have been able to put into words just like why politics is important. It's not boring. Politics is the most interesting thing because it's real. It affects everybody. It affects you. It affects your friends, your family, your neighbors, everybody. So much is at stake. Not every single prop, not every single election is going to be a make or break, but everything has an effect, and that has never been more personified than the last 4 years, and especially this year with COVID-19, with the Black Lives Matter movement continuing, and the biggest civil rights movement since the original civil rights movement, with MLK ended up being dead by that. So there's a lot. There's a lot at stake, and the people that you see being loud are the ones that want to make a change, that have the most at stake. I stay out. This is a great tweet that I saw the other day. I stay out of politics is such a weird way to spell my rights as a human aren't up in the air every 4 years, and I have no problem with the fact that yours are. You may not owe it to yourself per se to vote, but you owe it to other people. because not everybody is considered the same in society as you or I or your family or people that you know. So I really hate it when people say, "Oh, you can't talk about politics. This isn't, I didn't come here to hear about politics." Everything is political. Literally everything that you do in your life is political. It shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't be. In some cases, it shouldn't be, but it really is. It really, really is. It's a real hot button thing to say that you think the lives of black people actually matter. That is a hot button topic. For some reason, that is a bold stance to take. For some reason, it's a really, really bold stance to call Nazis bad, because the president of the United States, the leader of the free world, has failed to do so many times, saying that there's good people on both sides, doesn't condemn this child acquiring a gun illegally, driving past state lines to kill people, then kills people, and he doesn't say anything bad about it. Kyle Rittenhouse, what happened? There's been millions of dollars raised for this kid because of the bad people in this country, and especially how emboldened that they've been by the current administration. There's a lot that needs to be done. Let's just say that there's a lot. Nothing's perfect. Nothing was perfect. You take a look at the way that things were, which so many people want to get back to. I want to go back to the way things were. I want everything to feel normal again. It wasn't normal. Not maybe for you. But it shouldn't. That shouldn't be what normal is, because it wasn't. It wasn't for the disenfranchised, the minorities of this country. And Joe Biden is a terrible, terrible choice for president. He is a god-awful career politician. He goes whichever the way the wind blows, which has its good and bad points to it. But Biden is a terrible choice for president. But Trump is a billion times worse. It's like you have two plates of food. One has shit in it. One has shit in it, and you will taste it, and you'll probably vomit, and it's really, really bad. But the other one is straight up poison. It's just poison. So you can't. It's so irresponsible to not be able to make that choice and to feel like that's important. If you count your body as the country and choose between the food that has poop in it and the one that's just poison, are you telling me that that's a hard choice? Even though they're both bad choices, one is infinitesimally worse, so much worse. I've never been able to vote for somebody that ended up winning that election until earlier this year, when I voted for Bernie Sanders to be the Democratic nominee. And he won California and, had all that steam, a completely different subject talking about the primaries. But Obama made a few calls, told everybody to bow out and back Joe Biden because he was the safe pick, right? He's a boring pick. He's a safe pick, but he's the establishment. And it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. It's the establishment that always gets the backing. And let me be clear here. I hate to be, Obama and say, let me be clear, but Trump was not the establishment Republican, but he got the backing, and then everybody pushed for him. Because when it comes to especially presidential elections, which are the most polarizing ones, which get the most attention and obviously get the most amount of voters, not as many people, vote in other elections that aren't the presidential ones, even though you should, they're often just as important, have all the same issues except for president. You'll have senators up, congressmen up, local politicians, propositions, money being used for bad and for good things. That is always up for grabs. And it's not difficult to stay up to date on politics. I know sometimes doom scrolling on Twitter can take your toll on you and you don't want to watch the news every day. I absolutely get that. But you can't, it's irresponsible to say that you're not interested in politics because you are part of this country. If you're listening, it doesn't matter where you're listening from. You have to be somewhat interested in your own country because you live there. You live there. Why wouldn't you want to have a say? And it is a shame that not every vote matters in some cases. And the more local that you get, the more your vote counts, because there's less votes and things aren't divvied up as, and there's no electoral college for, your city mayor or, for your board of education. But unfortunately, we do have the electoral college. And because of that, the voice of the people isn't heard. It's an undemocratic thing. We live in a democratic republic, and it has a crap ton of flaws, one of which being the Electoral College. And you may not want to agree with me on everything that I say on this podcast, or you may not believe everything I do, but I absolutely implore you to just do a quick Google search on a phrase that you hear, on a person that you heard me say something about, or an issue, and look it up. Don't take my word for it. Everything I say today, don't take my word for it. I think anybody can be smart enough to understand any political issue, absolutely any of them. Sometimes there's not always, a right or wrong stance. It may be up to your opinion to whether think, should we divert more funding to this thing? Well, that depends if you think that thing's going to give you the results, right? Not everything is going to be an easy answer, but the vast majority of them are. The way, and I also hate the kumbaya. That, why can't we all just get along? Why can't we stop with the politics and just, human decency? There's a very large portion of the country that does not give a damn about human decency. They don't give a shit about fairness. They don't give a crap about your life or your well-being. They care about their money. They care about their money. They care about their money. Money and power. They care about their ability to impose their will on other people to an insane degree. And there's absolutely a lot of misconceptions, especially the younger and younger that you are, because, you're not going to be engaged in certain political conversations with people of your age group or any age group. You'll be discounted for your youth or your not having as much knowledge or experience on certain subjects, and you can be misled, right? A lot of that has to do with your environment, your town, your city, your state, your parents. Almost every single child in the world will end up having the same religious and political beliefs as their parents. That's not a random coincidence. That is not random. You can't, and you can't take the belief that, since my parents believe this, it has to be right. It can be on some occasions, but it might not be. Your parents tell you don't cross the street without looking both ways. That absolutely makes sense. But if they say that gay people shouldn't be married, that's wrong. I'm sorry, but that's wrong. You cannot, or that, there's a magical celestial dictator in the sky that controls everything. Just because your parents believe something doesn't mean that is true. And you can't be magically born believing the right thing. That's just not something that happens. You can't just be so lucky that you just happen to have the parents that believe everything that just happens to be true. There's no situation where that is the case. So, like, whenever you see people talk about politics, it immediately gets shut down, or I don't want to get political. Well, that's not me. I want to get political because it's way too fucking important. It's way too fucking important. And that's been shown this year with all of the insane problems that we have in this country of America, with our corrupt and fucked up police system, our shitbag courts, our fucked up political system where the person who gets the most votes doesn't win. You tell me how that's democratic. It absolutely is not. There's a lot of, talk about, founding fathers this and I don't give a shit. Even though the founding fathers were against a lot of the things that people think that they would be for, right now. When it comes to like, oh, it was founded as a Christian country. You cannot find one of the founding fathers that called themselves a Christian because that wasn't even a phrase back then. That was invented during the Carter administration to coalesce all the different sects under one umbrella term to fight against abortion, right? So that is that things aren't as the way that a lot of people in power think they are, right? There were framers of the Constitution who thought that it should be changed, completely amended every 19 years because it needs to keep up with the times. That's not going to happen. People say like, oh, Second Amendment, guns. Our guns are different now than they were 300 years ago. Sorry, it's true. The world is different. Everything is different. We have archaic systems in place for everything you can think of when it comes to the internet, when it comes to the music industry, when it comes to copyright, when it comes to counting votes, when it comes to absolutely anything and everything, because you have old, rich white men in power and they stay there for a long time and nothing changes because there's not systems in place to make things better. Especially in the short term, right? People love, only seeing gradual progress, and that's what people think voting for Biden is. Now, I already cast my vote. I already voted. I voted for Joe Biden because I'm not going to vote for Trump. And we need more people to vote. It is absolutely crucial. Who wants you to vote? Anybody who cares about democracy. Who doesn't want you to vote? People who don't care about democracy. And there's half of the major political parties in America don't want you to vote. And that is the Republican Party, because they know, and Trump knows, the more people that vote, and you can look this up anywhere when it comes to people who didn't vote or the way people lean, it has consistently been more left than right for the past few decades, right? We've had how many, I'll just go over my own lifetime. We've while having lost the popular vote in 6 of the last 7 presidential elections. I've had 7 presidential elections in my lifetime that I remember. The first time I ever remember there being an election was Clinton. I remember it happening because I saw commercials on Nickelodeon, I think. The one I only really remember happening and people talking about it was the Gore-Bush election. And so you absolutely cannot think that, well, the country's half this way and half that way. Or, oh, they'll vote this way and then the next election they vote the other way. That is statistically untrue. 6 out of the last 7 general elections that we've had, the Republicans have lost. So you can't say that half the country's Republican or half the time we vote that way. Because 6 out of the last 7, right? 4 out of the last 28 years, the Republicans have lost the popular vote. But we live in a country where that does not matter. And you can't say that, oh, the wind blows one way and then it blows the other way. Because oh, we don't like this guy, so we'll vote in the guy from the other team. Oh, then we don't like that guy, then we vote the guy from the other team. That isn't how it works. That isn't how it works. And if you think that the country is 50-50, it absolutely is not. If you thought that the most popular choice in the last election was Trump, you're wrong. If you think it's Hillary, you're wrong. The most popular choice was not voting. And that wasn't just because of the last election was the 2 least popular presidential candidates in history. And that's true. There's so much data to back that up. It is true. Trump was the least popular presidential candidate in the history of America. And Hillary Clinton was the second most least liked candidate in the history of the America, of our presidential elections. And that was obviously a terrible choice by the Democratic Party. If you have the worst candidate possible, you don't throw the second worst candidate possible against them because it was obviously a terrible choice. And she was a terrible candidate. I talked about it in the podcast 4 years ago. And it's the exact same with Joe Biden. It's the exact same. A terrible candidate, terrible politician, believes a lot of terrible things. But guess what? He thinks science is real, right? This dude wears a mask, doesn't get COVID. Our president thinks it's a hoax, right? He's, oh, it's not real, blah, 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 blah. doesn't wear a mask, gets COVID. Everyone is in cabinet getting COVID. Everybody. We have a political party that's been ruling this country for most of the last few decades and consistently anti-science, anti-education, pro-police, stuffing our prison systems. And if you think that the confirmation of Amy Coney Barrett is in any way democratic, I don't know how to talk to you. Merrick Garland was supposed to be on the Supreme Court with President Obama in office, and I disagree a lot with what Obama did. And he was much of a do-nothing president, and what his legacy is that anything he did was undone by Trump. And there was nothing left after that. And Biden's legacy will probably be that he wasn't Trump. And that's the best that Democratic Party can do for us. So if you want to say, oh, everybody's corrupt on both sides, they're all assholes, that's not even true. That's not even true. When you get down to the last two choices, that's when you have the least amount of choice, right? That's why the primaries are way more important than the presidential election. That's like saying, okay, where do you want to go out to eat tonight? It has to either be McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, right? It's like, those are my only choices? Yeah, I mean, you could have chosen between, McDonald's and Subway and Five Guys and Carl's Jr. and, the Chinese place down the road and, the sushi restaurant and the vegan place. But a lot of people voted McDonald's. It's like, that's kind of how it is, right? The least amount of candidates that are there, the less choice that you have. But now that you're down to two, you do need to make a choice. You do have that responsibility. And it's irresponsible to vote for Kanye or a Green Party or a third party, right? Because all that does is that helps Trump. And if you take a look at the Supreme Court, right, it's such an important thing to the rights of Americans everywhere. After Amy Coney Barrett got confirmed today, Republican presidents will have appointed 15 of the last 19 Supreme Court justices. Was it that because the American people voted those presidents in? No, because they lost the popular vote 6 out of the last 7 elections. And yet they have 15 of the last 19 Supreme Court justices. So let's not pretend the country is halfway one way, halfway the other, or they sway one way 4 years and they sway the other way the next 4 years. That isn't what's happening. And the people are not being represented. Those viewpoints, those platforms are not being represented. So our government at every single level is not an accurate representation of our country. One of the biggest problems is that people don't vote. That's why it's so important for people to vote. The more people vote, the more people have a say, and the more control that they have. And guess what? It's the better the country gets, right? The vast majority of people aren't going to make the right choice every single time. I'm not saying that. I'm absolutely not saying that. We have plenty of circumstances in the last minute that I just said where the vast majority of people went one way, and it was shown to be completely the wrong way to go. You take a look at Hillary Clinton's nomination or Joe Biden. Neither were the best choice, but they were the most popular. They have the name recognition, and they had the conglomerate machine of the establishment behind them. So there was no chance for Bernie Sanders. There was no chance for Elizabeth Warren because of the way that the system is rigged. And it is a rigged system. Not that it's controlled by the deep state or by the Jews, as Nick Cannon would like you to believe, or a million other fucking idiots. It's a lot of people, you got these QAnon people, all these. I mean, you have half of the major political parties believing in mass conspiracies. Take a look at Pizzagate. Take a look at anything QAnon is saying. Or that, everything's run by the deep state. If so, it's the worst deep state imaginable. They let Trump get in power. They allowed him to pass everything that he wanted. The Republicans got everything that they wanted. So this deep state sounds like it's not doing its fucking job. Or it doesn't exist. You tell me which is more likely. Go ahead, use your Occam's razor on that one, ladies and gentlemen. And others. there's like I said, there's a lot of misconceptions that people think that the way that the country is made up. Most people didn't vote for somebody. The election wasn't everyone voted for either Hillary or Trump. You had a large percentage of people, and it's always surprising, no matter who you are, the percentage of people that didn't vote for either of those candidates. And sometimes it doesn't matter. Not every vote does count because of the Electoral College. Because if you're in California, it doesn't matter what you vote. If you vote Democrat or Republican, the Democrat's going to win. If you live Texas the last couple of decades, it doesn't look like so now. It didn't matter if you were Democrat or Republican, the Republican was going to win. So the presidential nomination from 4 years ago was not decided by every voter. It was not decided by every state. It was not decided by every county. It was decided by a couple of counties, by a couple thousand votes. Really, only a couple 100,000 people's votes actually mattered in the last election, because those were the swing counties and the swing states that could swing the election either way for the Electoral College, right? And it's even funny because the Electoral College was put in place so that the people with, quote unquote, power and brains could overturn the will of the people if someone really stupid and terrible is elected. Yet it actually helps someone stupid and terrible become president of the United States. And you had a lot of debacle since the presidential campaign between Bush and Gore, right? You had the recount in Florida. And what have the last few Supreme Court justices all had in common? They all worked on that for the Republicans. And that's by no accident. It's no accident that Amy Coney Barrett is both a crazy nut job who believes terrible things. Go ahead, look it up. Look up what she believes. All right? And yes, I will mock somebody for their religion, because being religious doesn't automatically give you a free pass and make you a good person. Absolutely not. To the contrary, actually. To the contrary, because there is no major religion that believes in doing good things for this planet. You cannot name one that stands up for women's rights. You can't. There's not a single one. So, take a look at her history, her political history, and what she's done as a judge. She's also unqualified. She's both has terrible beliefs about women and about this country, and also is completely unqualified. It's no mistake that they picked somebody young. Obviously, you don't want to go out of your way to pick an octogenarian because it's a lifetime appointed position. And a lot of people on the right were cheering that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. The reason that they didn't tell Trump during his rally that she died, because they were afraid that the crowd would cheer. And this is in his Republican team. His team was afraid, so that because they knew that would happen, right? And with Merrick Garland's nomination being absolutely steamrolled by Mitch McConnell with 8 months left until the election, and now we just got a Supreme Court justice nominee nominated all the way through. She's in right now. It's over. It's done with. 8 days before the election. It's an absolute microcosm of the relationship between the Republican and Democratic Party in this country. The Republicans do anything they want, whenever they want, however they want, and the Democrats go, I wish you wouldn't, but oh well, gee willikers, we're losers, we're cowards, we don't do a damn thing. That is the two major political parties in our country in a nutshell. It's been that way since the start of this millennium. Take a look back at Newt Gingrich and his what he did in that office to kind of change the mindset of the Republicans. And the Democrats are weak, feeble, losers. I don't have any faith in this in the leadership that has been there at any point to get anything done. Even though at times they'll believe the right things, not even always. I mean, you have corporations counted as people, and that's free speech, and which is money, which is a legal bribe. We have legal bribery in America, where corporations can give a politician a bunch of money, and guess what? The politician magically, for their own health, apparently, votes in favor of those corporations. They vote for bills that help out those corporations. And because what do they care about? It doesn't matter. Almost any politician, they just care about the money. They care about keeping their power. They care about being reelected, right? To most politicians in this country, what is their job? It's not to answer the American people. It's to keep their job. And what's one way we can do this? We can get money out of politics. That's the number one thing that you need in this country to change it for the better at every single level, is you need to get money out of politics and make bribery illegal. But with the courts stacked the way that it is, the only way that we can do this, because obviously the Republicans love corporations, they love their money because they're all in cahoots. I mean, you don't even have to look up half of the people in Trump's cabinet and see all the wolves taking care of the sheep, right? You have all these unqualified morons who benefit at destroying the thing that they're in charge of. And it's obviously, of course, just going to get worse. And with the COVID-19 pandemic, it showed pretty much everything that was wrong with this country, with the racial injustice and how it's more negatively impacted minorities and people of color and more poverty-stricken areas, because the poor and the minorities, the downtrodden, the misfortunate, regardless of skin color, they're always going to get shafted. They're always going to deal with more sickness. They're always going to deal with less funding. And none of that is going to change with Biden. You know, people hate that Trump saw all the kindling in the room and then lit it on fire. Now people are like, I want to get back to the way it was when it was just filled with kindling. No, Biden was part of the problem. But Biden was one of the people who filled the house with kindling. Trump's just the one who threw the match. Obviously, you blame the guy who threw the match, but you also blame the guy who put in the kindling. It's not as offensible as the one who purposely set the house on fire, but you made that a possibility. So voting for Biden because you want to get back to the way things were, it's just a house full of kindling again. And while we might not get somebody as crazy and as impeccably stupid as Donald J. Lieutenant Bone Spurs Trump, Trump's own cabinet believes that the next Republican nominee will be Tucker Carlson 4 years from now. You might say that sounds crazy because of what he said, what he thinks. But take a look at the president right now. It's such a crazy thing what 4 days, let alone 4 years, did to the term presidential. It's a presidential thing to just lie to people, to bold-faced lie, to look at evidence and say, I didn't say that. We have it on tape. I didn't say that. Fake news. You're lying. Over and over and over again. And it's like, it's not even good gaslighting. It's not even good lying. But does the media call them out on it? Almost never. Do the Democrats ever challenge them? Almost never. You know, they'll say, oh, I wish he didn't say that, or that's wrong. It goes back to that SNL skit with Kenan Thompson. Ain't nothing going to happen. It doesn't matter what Trump does. Nothing is going to happen. He got impeached. He broke the law. He fired people who were defending him. He fired people that he hired that are just doing their goddamn job. He doesn't believe the thing his own FBI says, the things his own CDC says. He doesn't believe anything except what he watches on his 19 hours a day of TV. Slight exaggeration, but holy shit. And you don't once again, don't take my word for it. Look at all his press conference. I watched this thing last night. I watched this thing last night. I watched these guys last night. I watched this show last night. And just add it up all the time. All this fucking dude watches is TV, and it's almost always, just on Fox News. Those people are the most powerful people in the country, the people on Fox News. It's sad, but it's true, because they inform the president's thinking by spreading their conspiracy theories and their lies and their bullshit, and that feedback loops into him. The dude doesn't do his research. Everyone has to dumb everything down, especially when he goes to a foreign country, because he won't read. You have to have pictures to get this guy to look at anything. Don't take my word for it. Look anything up this man has done. And if you can't decide, like The Simpsons made a little animated clip where Homer's like, I know how I want to vote on the propositions and the judges, but president, gee, I don't know. And Lisa comes in, what do you mean you don't know? Haven't you been paying attention the last 4 years? And you got a long scroll of events from the last 4 years going past the screen, and Homer's just like, oh yeah, oh man, that was crazy. Was that real? Yeah. You would have to be a fictionally stupid person to be Ken Bone in this instance, where he doesn't know who to vote for. I've taught a lot of people a lot of things, and I'm not talking about anything on YouTube. I haven't done anything on YouTube. I just talk about video games and anime and comic books and movies and stuff. A lot of things are not difficult to teach people. Politics is not difficult. It sounds like a big mountain of things. It sounds like, oh, I have to do so much research. There's so many tools out there, more and more every day, so many simple tools. It does not take a lot of time to learn about your propositions, and you're not going to hear anything coming from me that's as good as the research and the writing that is done on Some More News or Last Week Tonight, where they go in depth and really show you the examples and find the dirt and the crap that has just been in our country for decades and decades and centuries even sometimes. And how that shit's like, every single time it's like, why aren't we doing anything about this? Because it all goes down to the local level, to the judges, to the police, to the propositions, to the lawmakers, and how everything is done, how undemocratic a lot of this country is, where people just don't get the say because there's just so many things that are so easy. You take a look at the propositions. Every single one of you in America has seen a proposition commercial. I don't care if you only watch YouTube or if you watch TV or you only stream stuff. You've seen the propositions about this or that. All you have to do, for the most part, is look at who's funding it. The big $1 trillion corporation is funding this one? Gee, I wonder why. Let's look into it. Oh, it would save them money and put people at risk and do all this to their employers? Gee, this is such a hard decision to make. Oh man, Uber and DoorDash, they want to pass this law? I wonder if it will help them out and screw over their employees. Oh my gosh, it will. That's crazy. No company is going out of their way to make a law to help their employees or independent contractors, as they want to keep them, so that way they can give them less rights, like they're WWE wrestlers, right? And so that's just why I want to say it's like, you have to be political. You have to take a stance. You have to, the only way to start to fix things is to speak up. When you hear somebody say something completely insane and completely wrong, completely evil or fucked up, shutting your mouth isn't the right course. Maybe you don't want to get into a confrontation because you hate confrontations, right? It's not always the best idea to get into a yelling match with a crazy shirtless man running down Main Street. I'm not saying that you have to go out there and fight and put yourself in danger and put your fists up. But when you hear a family member say something about a minority group, they use a slur or they spew out vitriol-filled hate that is just absolutely off the wall wrong. I realize a lot of people are not in a position to say something, but sometimes you are. And even though you can speak up, say your piece, and not change their mind, we still have to have those conversations. We have to have those voices. It is so important to changing the narrative of this country on these so many issues, right? Oh, gay people might be allowed to be married now, but guess what? It's not the law. There's no law that says that gay people have the right to be married. There's no amendment in the Constitution for that. So it can be taken away at any point. Roe v. Wade is constantly being brought up because you have these single issue Republican voters, single issue voters. For those of you who don't know, a single issue voter is typically a Republican who will always vote Republican because they care about controlling women's bodies. You know, the Republican Party, the one that says that they want the government to have less control over people's lives. They want the government to tell women what they can and cannot do with their bodies. They don't want them to have a choice. And they'll say it's because of their religion, but you can look it up. You can look it up. The Bible is not a long book. It's not a long book. There's not 400 chapters. There's not 900 volumes to it. It mentions abortion one time in the Bible. One time. And it's for it. If your wife is having a child with another man, then you can abort that baby. That's the only time. The only time in the Bible that's brought up. But does it matter to the religious? Does it matter to the Christian base of America? No. Absolutely. I mean, obviously not. When was the last time those people made the right decision based off of their quote unquote beliefs, right? And you have all these other people being like, oh, well, people who say this or do this, they're not a real Christian, as if Christian means good person. It doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. It's such a wide spectrum, right? So many people, the majority of people in this country call themselves Christian. They don't act like it. They act rational most of the time. They think that Black people should have rights. They think that women should have rights. That's I don't see that in their book anywhere. Actually, to the contrary, over and over and over and over and over again. Where you go into Numbers and, you know, God goes over the logistics of buying and selling slaves. Don't take my word for it. It's not a long book. It's not a long book. Don't take my word for it. You've seen one. It's not huge. That shit's not hard to read. It's not hard to find. It's not hard to understand. And neither are our laws for the most part. I know there's, you know, if you get more and more into the weeds about, you know, certain things, it can get confusing. But when it comes to what you have the power to do as a voter, it's almost never confusing. Sometimes you'll have to go a little bit of research about what this certain proposition is, or, oh, you have two candidates for that party that you like, and you can't choose between the two. There's almost always going to be a deciding factor in there for you. It just takes a little bit, just a couple of minutes of looking online through your ballot, and you should be able to make the choices. It's not difficult. It's not hard. It's not time consuming. And it's super important. So I just implore absolutely everybody who might be listening in this country to please go vote. It doesn't matter who you're voting for. Please go vote. Because the more people that vote, the better statistically. If you take a look, don't take my word for it. Especially with such a low voter turnout that almost every single election has had. The more people that vote, the better that things are, because as a people, we tend to make a lot of good decisions. Now, obviously, there have been a lot of bad things, but then what happens? That tide gets overturned by the majority again. But Joe Biden is he's a weather vane. He goes whichever the way the wind's blowing. This dude was against desegregating the schools. You know, we don't have to listen to him talk about corn pop and his troubles at the local swimming pool where the blacks and the whites weren't allowed to swim together. We don't have to go that deep. We can look into his crime bill, and he says that, you know, he's made mistakes in the past. At least he's done that. Right? But there's a lot of, you know, he doesn't think that everybody should have health care. And you listen to anybody from any other developed country. America is the only one. The only one. It's not hard to do. We have the most money. We don't even have the most people. Right? We have the infrastructure. If every other developed country on the world can give people healthcare to where if you don't have money, you die, it's just not a thing. We can stop that. We can absolutely stop that. It's not that difficult. It's not that, oh, long lines, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Guess what? There's already lines in America right now. They're already super long, and people are dying because they don't have the money. to get to this specialist or to treat this or afford the medication that is a 1,000,000,000% markup because of the corporations don't have any sort of regulation, because the lawmakers are being paid by those corporations to not regulate them and to not punish them when they break the law. They get the golden parachutes and they're just billionaires. There's nothing but bad people involved in that equation. I can tell you right now. We need to get those politicians out of office. We need to get the money out of politics. And we need young people to vote, to get involved. I'm not telling everybody to run for office. It's not for everybody, obviously. I have a friend of mine who's actually running for the local school board. And he's absolutely one of the most stand-up people I've ever met in my life. And he's always been interested in politics and also trains and Star Trek. But the dude's a stand-up guy, and I don't even think we believe in everything the same politically. I don't even I think we might differ on a lot of things, but I know for that position that this person will do the right thing. And he's a young guy. He's only a couple of years older than me, and we can't have the same old rich white men in power for 60, 70 years. It's just not working out for the country. It has never been a formula for success. Everything is in place to stagnate change, right? The Congress and the Senate were created to make change insanely difficult, and if it's possible, for it to be insanely slow. And that's not good enough for this country. Most people, if you take a look at the polling, if you take a look at the information, you would be surprised on the plurality and often majority of people that might believe in the obvious sane thing that you believe in. Whether it's, people shouldn't die if they don't have the money to afford something. You'd be surprised on how many people believe that, and yet not as many people believe in universal health care because they're scared away by the Red Scare of the 80s. Like, they hear socialism and they go, oh no, get in the bunkers, the nukes are coming, right? We need to get that boomer Gen Z, Gen X mentality out of here. We see what Norway's doing. We see what Denmark's doing. We see what the UK is doing. We see what Canada's doing. A lot of these things are not difficult to replicate. You take a look at some of the things that are allowed in this country when it comes to legal bribery or having, the pharmaceutical companies being able to air commercials. Only America and Australia, I believe, are the only countries in the world that actually allow that. It's something that we've all grown up with. It doesn't matter who you are. We've all grown up with that. And the pharmaceutical companies, they've created so many problems with this in this country, with jacking up their prices or making super addictive and deadly drugs. And that shit's not being regulated. It's not being, monitored, and it's not being taken care of because they have, the money is power. Money is power, and apparently money is free speech, and they get to control whomever is in power. And that is it's not for their health. It's not for their health. People who think that voting doesn't matter, tell that to the rich white man. He knows voting matters because he uses all of his money and influence to make sure that people vote for him, and it works. It works, people. They know it works. Evangelical Christians know how important voting is. That's why they come out more than almost any other demographic, so that they can make sure that women's bodies are controlled by their demagoguery. We have a fascist in the fucking White House. If you take a look at the 15 pillars of fascism, Trump and his administration represents every single one. They hearken back to a time of better times. Make America great again, right? They want everything to be like the 50s where, blacks couldn't vote and women, they stayed in the kitchen, right? That's really what they want. They want. It's like the Bo Burnham song, where straight white man. It's like, we used to have all the money and power, and we still do, but it's not as fun now. There's a reason that they still do, right? And it starts at the voting booth. That's where it all comes from. And nothing will be quick, unfortunately. It is unfortunate that we do have a two-party system. People will want to say like, oh, all the Democrats are bad choices, all the Republicans are bad choices. Bernie Sanders is an independent, but he caucuses with the Democrats. So if you want to say all the Republicans and all the Democrats are bad, what do you have to say about Bernie Sanders? There's a reason why he was not politically correct many decades ago. People love throwing around that word, right? Politically correct. What does that word mean? It depends on when you're using it. It wasn't politically correct in the 70s or 80s to be pro LGBTQIA+. It wasn't in vogue to want black people to have rights and not being killed and incarcerated at a disproportionate amount, right? You listen to Nixon and his aides admitting that what they did to go after drugs so that they can lock up the hippies and lock up the black community, because they couldn't make it illegal to be against the war in Vietnam. But what they could do is put people like the hippies and the blacks who were against the war, put them in jail so that way they can't vote, and then they get to keep everything going the way that they want. That's not me saying it. That was Trump's, slight little slip there. That was Nixon's own aides admitting they knew what they were doing, and they knew why they were doing it, and they can be brazen about it because there's no checks and balances in this country. So many people, even if they were against Trump, were like, "Oh, don't worry, nothing can happen. He's just one guy." But look what has happened. No Green New Deal. We had a huge pandemic outbreak with zero response. He got rid of the pandemic response team for America. He got rid of them. We had so many studies done, so many professionals telling us how unprepared America was for a pandemic. It didn't matter. It didn't matter because it hit, and then still the White House still doesn't have a plan. They don't have a strategy. We had a Republican congressman or a senator today, or I think it was yesterday, on CNN say, we don't plan to contain the virus. We just want to make a vaccine eventually. And they were like, wait, you don't want to stop it? You don't want to contain it? And there's like, no, we are. There's no plan. And you take a look at look at what New Zealand has done. Look at what China has done, where the virus started, and they have way more people than America. Don't take my word for it. Look it up. It's insanely true. It's not even funny. And yet, you take a single state from America, and we have more cases per day than a country where it started with higher densely populated areas, with more population as a whole. They aren't getting those numbers because their government made some correct choices and the public made some correct choices. America, no, on both fronts. You got Smash Mouth concerts, you got spring breakers, you got massive rallies, these super spreader movements. Nothing changing in Florida. I have a friend in Florida. She's like, nothing changed here when the pandemic hit. And there's a reason it's really bad in Florida. There's a reason it's really bad in Texas. There's a reason it's really bad in California. There's a reason why some states are doing correct things and some states are doing wrong things, because we don't have the control. We don't have the control. This federalism has been tearing the country apart since before the Civil War. Case in point, the Civil War itself, which you have a surprisingly large amount of people believing it's going to happen again because they want it to happen, right? There's not just one Kyle Rittenhouse out there. Do you know how many Black Lives Matter protests had conservative drivers in their car plow through them? I think it was 78. That might even be lower. 78 times where that happened, where a car just plows through people. And you had lawmakers, you had people in high positions of authority within their state trying to make it legal to do that. That's where we are. That's where we are. The number one step is you have to get money out of politics. Number two step is you have to vote. but you have to vote to know in order to get enough people to get an amendment, because it's not going to be able to happen in the Supreme Court. There's so many things that we can't do in the court now. The Republicans have stuffed the court illegally, some would say. Merrick Garland, he was supposed to be appointed by the president. There was an open seat supposed to be appointed. Mitch McConnell just sits there and says no. And the Democrats go, okay, for no reason. For no reason. They have all the power. They have the authority. They have the law. But Mitch McConnell just says no. And we live in a country where that's enough. We live in a country where that's enough. I mean, we live in a country where the opposing party is supposed to be doing the good things, refuse to, because they're afraid of the Republican voters. They're afraid of boycotts from Walmart. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of money. They're absolutely terrified of doing anything. That's why we need to get fucking Feinstein out of there. That's why we have to get fucking everybody. We need to almost everybody. We got to flush the house. Okay, the squad is not going to save us. I don't want to have to wait until AOC is old enough and pissed off enough to feel like she has to run for president. I don't want to have to wait until that happens. I don't want to have to wait. Do you think Bernie Sanders wanted to become president? No. 4 years ago, he wanted Elizabeth Warren to run. He asked her if she would run, wanted her to run, asked her to run. She wasn't going to run. So he's like, I guess I'll do it. He's never wanted to. He's loved him for months. He's the only independent senator. And it just keeps getting, his state loves him. The things that he has done for that state has been phenomenal, and the things that he's done on the numerous committees. This dude was rallying for gay rights before I was born, before it was politically correct to want gay people to have rights. That wasn't a politically correct thing to do in the 70s or 80s. The AIDS scare, right? That was that wasn't popular. The dude marched on Washington with Martin Luther King. And by the way, apparently Trump is the least racist person in the room, that he says to the black female moderator of that debate. Do you believe that? Does anyone believe anything that orange fuckface says? And sometimes his voters, but like, yeah, no, but what does it come down to? What does it come down to, ladies and gentlemen? It doesn't matter, because he hates the people I hate. That's what that party comes down to. Things aren't the way that they used to be, right? Today's Democratic Party is pretty much like the 70s Republican Party, which is pretty far right. And the Republicans just went even more right. And I guess they're just a fascist dictatorship at this point, bowing down to the dear leader, Donald Trump. And that's contrary to the population of America. The population of America has moved more to the left every single decade. And the government has moved more to the right, because they get the power, they consolidate the power, they gerrymander all the states. So even though most people in Wisconsin are not voting Republican, they have a super majority, because gerrymandering's legal. And how do you stop that? Well, you gotta make a law. How do you make a law? You gotta get politicians to do something. How do you get politicians to do something? You bribe them. Who's gonna bribe them? The people that want to keep them in power and help them out, which are the corporations, because they have the money. And then that just keeps happening over and over again. Election and election again, okay? I would love for the Wolf Pack to help get money out of politics. We need more politicians to speak truth to power, whether it be to the Republican Party or to the Democratic Party. Because what do you fucking think Chuck Schumer is doing for his party or for this country? Not just be like shaking his fist, be like, I wish you wouldn't do this, but I'm gonna let you do it anyway. That's the opposition. That's the opposition to the dude who says that I like heroes who weren't captured, who makes fun of veterans, who wants huge parades in his honor, who kisses the rectum of Kim Jong-un as much as he can, calling him a dear friend and talking about how journalists are treated in South America. And be like, I wish we could do that here. I wish people treated me like they treat Kim Jong-un in his country. Don't take my word for it. If that's the one thing I could just do the research yourself. It's not hard, and it doesn't take very long. Whether it be a local election, a primary election, or just being a normal person, don't stay in your lane and not talk about politics. This is a shared lane that we're all driving on. We're all humans. All politics affect all of us. And you have this president calling voter fraud. Guess what? This is a flashback. 2016, he was saying that the election was rigged, that there was voter fraud. And oh, guess what? He magically still won. Oh my gosh, what an insane voter fraud that was, right? I can't believe they beat him. Oh wait, is Hillary in the White House right now? No, that would be Trump. He even said during the campaign, we need to get rid of the Electoral College, it's biased, and then he gets elected, and he says, you can take a look at the footage where he says, well, it worked out for me, so I guess it's not that bad. I guess we should keep it. And everyone's cheering. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever helps them out, right? Whatever helps them out. And do you think the Democrats are going to change it? If Biden gets in office, do you think they'll get rid of the Electoral College? Do you think they'll get rid of daylight saving time and abolish the penny? Just common sense, easy things that every other normal, rational country has done that can stop a pandemic without spreading mass, insane, stupid information like injecting bleach and hydroxychloroquine, which killed these people who believed in the president. It's obviously frustrating for anybody. I have many friends who do not. I don't have many friends. Okay, obviously, loser on the internet doesn't have a lot of friends. But most of my friends actually don't even live in this country. To be fair, or maybe half. And they're mad. They're mad about what's going on here. They're upset. Their minds are boggled. Maybe even more so than mine. Because they live in countries that's like, well, if I get sick, it gets taken care of because I'm a human, and that's a human thing. Humans get sick. And if they aren't taken care of, they die. We have literally millions of years of evidence for that. We had so many people long ago having wars and gods all along the way, dying often by tooth decay, tooth infections because it's so close to the brain. Right? There's just mountains of evidence, and we have an entire party in our country that is dedicated to fighting against evidence, if I believe in something and I'm shown evidence to the contrary, I change my opinion. I don't change the evidence, but the Republican Party does. Science is real. Climate change is real. You don't have to look at a graph or listen to a study. Open your fucking eyes. I live in California. I had to be evacuated because of the wildfires. Two of the three biggest wildfires in history happened this year. The top two biggest fires in Idaho history happening right now. Unprecedented amount of fires. Unprecedented amount of terrible hurricanes. You don't need to do much to realize. That's like you got your conservatives out there who want fracking, more fracking. Fracking's great for everybody. You take a look. Don't take my word for it. Take a look at the data where you have earthquakes in areas. There's, 3 a year or whatever, once every couple years, to a certain point on the scale. And then you start fracking and that turns into thousands of earthquakes. And you're telling me that there's no connection between the two? Well, there's a lot of money in it. Ooh, well, that changes everything. Guess it's not real. And you got the same thing. The oil companies, man, ExxonMobil, they have all the money. And what comes with the money? They have the power. So none of the politicians will dare touch them because they give them the money to keep them reelected. And that's all that they care about. So many people don't care about this country, but there are those that do. There are Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's out there. There are Iman Omar's out there. There are Bernie Sanders's out there that have been fighting for people, for basic rights for decades, with no credit towards them. And often, like, if say Bernie never ran last time, he became the most popular politician in the country, still is right now, I believe. Even though obviously he didn't get the nomination, things were looking his way until everybody consolidated to drop out, thanks to a couple of phone calls by Mr. Let Me Be Clear, to everybody back Biden, because they were afraid that actual change was going to happen, because Bernie was going to try to change things for the better. He wanted to have universal health care. Well, guess what? That hurts the private insurers who have all that money, who give it to the politicians so that they can keep the money and so they can stay in power. And you have, why would you audit the Fed? Why would you audit the Fed? Because they keep the money flowing the right way. We have a president who didn't pay money in taxes. And you have his fans saying, "Oh, because he's smart, because he's a billionaire. That's why he lost $941 million in a single year. That means he's a good businessman." What was the one thing that we heard 4 years ago? Oh, he'll be a great president because he makes good deals. When he's failed at literally everything. Trump Steaks, Trump Water, Trump University, The Apprentice, which obviously I'm not counting, but, still, it was a big hit. He got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for it. Eventually failed, right? Flash in the pan, as many shows are, even the good and bad ones. And you had his kids bragging about how much money Russia was giving them, obviously before the election, for the golf courses this and golf courses that. And you have an insane amount of happenings of the Trump campaign, the Trump White House violating the emoluments clause, which is on grounds for impeachment. You have so many cabinet members breaking that, advertising Ivanka's fucking clothing and handbags and shit, and it just goes on and on. Violating the Hatch Act, left and right. So many impeachable offenses. Yes, he did get impeached. He was not removed. We knew it wasn't going to happen. We knew Comey wasn't going to be enough. We knew this was going to happen, right? People thinking that the system works are very naive, thinking that there are checks and balances. We've seen what Trump has done the last 4 years. Does it seem like he's balanced? With the Republicans not in control of everything, and still there's no balance? There's still no checks? It's broken from within. The DNA is wrong. There are things that worked a couple hundred years ago that haven't worked for 100 years, or 10 years, or even a day. It doesn't matter. When something's broken, you fix it. You don't keep it just because, that's the way things are. Obama didn't want to get rid of the penny, which every other rational country has done, because it just bleeds money over and over again. Because he's like, I remember back when I was a kid, we used to put a penny in a jar, and I don't want to lose that. Blah blah blah. Yeah, that definitely was the right answer to give to John Green or Hank Green, or whoever it was. There's so many things that are fucked up with this country. You have the Second Amendment, right? You have the Black Panther movement, right? They carried weapons to protect their women from getting killed. So what did Reagan do? He made it illegal. And as soon as the Black Panthers disappear, that movement is quashed by his government. Guess what? It's legal again. And now that we have all the MAGAs, we got all the Nazis with their tiki torches out, and all the Kyle Rittenhouses and the anti-vaxxers and the anti-maskers out in front of their town halls with machine guns. What's being done about that? Nothing. We have a president who has told his followers time and time again to take up arms, to stand by Proud Boys, pushing this narrative of Antifa as if it was a group. Antifa's not a group. It's an idea of being against fascism. That's what Antifa stands for. Anti-fascism. If you're not Antifa, then you're pro-fascism. It's not a group. It doesn't have a headquarters. It doesn't have a president or a CEO. No. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. Yet we have all these terrorist groups, these white right-wing terrorist groups that are planning to kidnap the mayor of Michigan and kill her. Obviously, the fact that she was a woman really, really got them into the idea. Obviously, the incel ideology, sure. And then you have a sheriff, as a surprise to nobody, that was like, I don't know if we should prosecute him. We didn't know what they were gonna do. What's conspiracy to murder anyway? Conspiracy to kidnap. We don't know if they were gonna kill her. They might have just arrested her. They're not cops. And obviously they weren't planning to arrest her. They don't even have the power to do that. We need to get rid of these people. We need to change the system. We need police reform. Tell me what other country where this is happening. Or so many people, like, for some reason, it's a political, hot button, controversial issue to think that a woman who hasn't broken any law, where no one in her house or residency has broken the law, has been a criminal, can sleep in their house without fear of had their house broken into by a bunch of plainclothes people with guns and killing her in her own house. That's a hot button issue. That's a hot topic to say that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be, but in this country it is. In this country it's a bit of a controversy to say that Breonna Taylor didn't have it coming, apparently. Didn't break a law. Didn't do anything. George Floyd. The cops stood on his neck until he died. Just did it. You have a man who tried to break up a fight that he was not a part of. He tries to walk away and gets shot in the back 6 times. Point blank. And you tell me there's something that's not wrong with their training. There's something that's not wrong with this society. I don't buy it. And neither should you. We need to vote. We need to change so much in this country. And it all starts with voting at every single level. We need to get the judge, the sheriff, or Arpaios out of here, where they can't be pardoned by the fascist in chief living in the White House. We need a country that doesn't give millions of dollars to a white supremacist who just killed a couple of people. A child with a gun that purposefully drove across state lines to kill people. Gets millions of dollars. Gets praised by Fox News. By Tucker Carlson. The supposed next Republican candidate, according to Trump's team. No. We can't afford that to happen. Because we're losing the country right now. We're losing the country to Nazism, to fascism, to people that think that this is okay. We have so many complicit people. Your Kanyes of the world. Obviously mentally unstable people who are getting taken advantage of, that are being influenced, and are using their influence and power in such a wrong way. And then you have people who do believe in correct things, like not dying if you're not rich because you can't afford to stay alive, or not being shot based off of the color of your skin, or not having control over your own body because you have a uterus. But they don't speak up because they don't want to be political. They don't want to stir things up. They don't want to be controversial. Fuck that. Speak up. Vote. Be political. We are all in this lane. Don't stay in your lane. We're all humans. Politics affects all of us. And if you're too bored or lazy or privileged that you don't think that you need to care, then fuck you, because it affects everybody else out there and they're dying, but you can't be bothered. Fuck you. Please vote. Now and forever.